The Avengers are losing. Not just losing, they're being overwhelmed. In their final stand against Thanos' army, Thor has been pushed to the brink. With a broken eye socket and every ounce of strength he has left, he swings Mjolnir in a last-ditch effort to take down the Mad Titan, only for it to be swatted away by Thanos' giant purple gauntlet. All hope seems lost. Tony Stark is out of the fight. Steve Rogers is drawing his last breath, and Natasha Romanoff is gone. But as Thanos moves in for the final blow, just as we all know he's about to rip Thor's head off, something flies past his face. Mjolnir, summoned by the dying wish of a true Asgardian, is returning to its owner. Except this time, it doesn't connect. Instead, when Thor reaches out for the hammer, it's a colossal bolt of bright Asgardian energy erupts from the sky, striking him squarely in the chest. For a moment, Thor looks surprised. But as the light fades, we get our first good look at what's left of the Asgardian army. And perched atop the pile of rubble and bodies is Captain America. But he's different. Something has changed. When he drops to one knee and grasps the handle of Mjolnir, we realize exactly what that is. He's been chosen by the gods of Asgard, deemed worthy to wield the full power of the Odinforce, granting him powers far beyond even Thor's. This is the untold story of Captain Asgard. In the comics, there have been several occasions where the worthiness of heroes such as Spider-Man and Vision has been called into question. However, the most compelling and well-known example of a non-Asgardian hero wielding the Odinforce comes from the pages of Thunderstrike. When Eric Masterson, aka Thunderstrike, passed away, his brother-in-law, Jacob Gallows, took over the mantle.
However,
he wasn't worthy to wield the hammer on his own. So, he instead became the host of the Spirit of Thunderstrike, gaining the powers of both Thunderstrike and an Asgardian warrior named Beta Ray Bill. It is through this union that Jacob Gallows became known as the God of Thunder. But back to our story. After being struck by the colossal bolt of Odinforce energy, Steve Rogers finds himself changed. His suit, which only moments ago was torn and dirty, now begins to glow as it is woven together with the very fabric of Asgard. We see this in slow motion as pieces of Uru metal, the same metal Mjolnir is made of, intertwined with the fabric of his suit. The star on his chest glows brighter than any sun, shining forth with divine energy. And finally, as the energy subsides, he takes in a deep breath and turns. The wind behind him flows into the shape of a shimmering, ethereal cape made of pure energy, swirling around his shoulders like a living thing. Finally, his eyes glow with the power of the Odinforce, as he now stands before us as Captain Asgard. Let's take a moment to really appreciate this. Before we had a skinny nerd who looked like he was going to die from scurvy become a powerful sorcerer. A short guy who couldn't even lift his own hammer become a god of thunder. A talking tree become a walking tank. And a raccoon who liked watching movies become the most dangerous hunter in the universe. So why not a super soldier who was pretty damn good with a shield become a god of thunder? He can do anything. The only difference between him and Thor is that Thor is a god and Steve is a man. But Steve already has everything Thor has. Superhuman strength, stamina, speed, durability, reflexes, agility, a warrior's instinct, genius-level intellect, peak human endurance, perfect strategic. In combat skills, an expert tracker, and an Asgardian weapon that grants him control over lightning. So let's show a montage of our favorite moments from the untold adventures of Captain Asgard. During the battle with Thanos' forces, Cap is hit by one of the blasts from the Power Stone. Now, however, instead of just blocking it with his shield, he telekinetically expands it with his mind, controlling it like he's become one with the fabric of reality itself. He makes the shield grow, propelling itself through the air, ricocheting off buildings and throwing the soldiers around like ragdolls. He does the same thing with Mjolnir, slamming it into the ground and using the shockwave to knock out hundreds of Thanos' elite Black Order soldiers. Literally tears apart the earth with the combined might of the Odinforce and his will. And he's just getting warmed up. He next faces off against Ebony Maw, who taunts him, saying, "You may have the power of Thor, but you are still just a weakling human. You cannot win." With a smile under his helmet, Cap simply replies, "We'll see about that," before throwing Mjolnir at Maw with such force that it pins him to the ground, breaking his bones and forcing the power of the Mind Stone out of him. Then, using his newfound powers, he snaps his fingers, and the soldiers around him freeze in place, locked in a perpetual state of stasis. With his army dealt with, Thanos turns to see what's become of Ebony Maw. And when he sees Captain Asgard standing over his defeated form, he smiles. "So you have embraced the power of my homeworld. I must admit, I am impressed." "Perhaps you are worthy," Cap replies. "You're strong, Thanos, but you don't know the first thing about Asgard or the Avengers. Think you're going to come into our world and wipe out half of everyone we love? You're going to kill everyone who stood against you? You're not going to beat us, Thanos?" Thanos, enraged, lunges forward and slams the full force of the Power Stone into Captain Asgard's chest. Only instead of knocking him back or sending him flying, the stone simply glows brightly as it's absorbed into the shield and concentrated within the Odinforce. Cap remains rooted firmly to the spot as he focuses his will, channeling the power of the stone through his body. Then in a flash of light, it's fired back at Thanos with a force that sends him flying backwards, slamming into the side of a building. Cap wasted no time in finishing the job. Thanos lay stunned and disoriented from the sudden burst of power. He grabbed Mjolnir and slammed it into the pavement. The force created a concussive wave that knocked Thanos clean off his feet and sent him sailing through the air. He didn't just have the strength of Thor, he had the fighting skill of Steve Rogers. As Thanos tried to scramble back to his feet, Cap landed blow after blow, pummeling the Mad Titan with the full force of his godly strength. With each strike, he drove Thanos further and further back, until he finally slammed the Mad Titan up against the wall, trapping him completely. Then came the final blow. Captain America threw Mjolnir high into the air, and as it reached its peak altitude, he threw his shield. The two legendary weapons collided in midair, creating a massive, explosive dome of pure, patriotic, and Asgardian energy that rained down destruction upon Thanos' army, turning the tide of the battle once and for all. After the dust had settled, the remaining Avengers were stunned by the sight before them. The power of the Odinforce surged around Captain America as he stood triumphantly over the fallen. Mjolnir and his shield both floated back to him as he slowly lowered his arms, the glow fading from his suit. The weight of what he had just done seemed to hit him all at once, and he collapsed to one knee. He had defeated Thanos, saved the universe, and become a god. But now the power was fading. Thor approached him, tears in his eyes, and asked, "Brother, are you all right?" As the power ebbed away from him, Steve simply smiled and said, Yeah, I'm fine. Just a little tired." Now that the threat of Thanos has been dealt with, the narrator asks the audience for a moment. A mortal man wielded the power of a god. Should Steve Rogers have kept the Odinforce? What would the MCU look like if he had? Share your best theories in the comments below. And if you want to see more epic what-ifs like this, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more. Now, as soon as I saw the movie Endgame, I knew I had to write a story about what would happen. If Steve Rogers was worthy to wield the power of the Odinforce, what would the MCU be like if he was considered a true god of thunder? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Till then, peace out.